He had the nerve to fire me while I was still holding the champagne flute he poured for the acquisition deal I closed. We were on the rooftop, Manhattan's skyline bleeding gold behind him. The kind of night people dream of: warm breeze, string lights, the smell of expensive betrayal. He clinked his glass to mine, grinned, and said, "You've outgrown this role, Mia. It's time to move on." At first, I thought it was a joke, some awkward attempt at mentorship. But then I saw the envelope tucked behind his back, like a magician mid-trick. White, embossed, my name misspelled, MYA. I didn't take it. HR will follow up tomorrow, he added, casual as an Uber cancellation. I should have slapped the glass from his hand. I should have screamed. Instead, I looked him dead in the eyes and said, "You just fired the wrong bitch." Because here's what he didn't know. I had a backup laptop, offsite, disconnected from the company network. On it, copies of contracts, Slack exports, screenshots, internal memos, and one particularly spicy video of Jordan, our visionary CEO, snorting something off an NDA-labeled folder while calling a female engineer code Barbie. And that was just the appetizer. What they did to me wasn't just betrayal. It was artless, lazy, arrogant in the way only overfunded white-collar boys could be. They thought they'd clipped my wings, but I'd already built the nest. 3 months earlier, I started quietly redirecting vendor accounts, set up my own shell company, just initials, just a logo, and began hiring freelancers we already underpaid to build something better. Something clean, fast, sharp. They thought I was working overtime for them. I was working overtime on them. And Jordan, he thought firing me in front of our partners would humiliate me into silence. Look on his face when I calmly dropped my badge into his champagne and said, "Check the news tomorrow," was worth every Sunday I'd spent building my exit. But I didn't go home. I went to a different rooftop, 3 blocks away. Smaller building, shittier wine. My team was waiting. 4 women, 1 ex-CTO, a Gen Z branding witch from TikTok, and a 38-year-old project manager who once got fired for being too direct. We toasted. At midnight, I hit publish on the press release. Former Aurelius exec launches rival firm, secures $4.2 seed round overnight. At 12:01, Jordan called. I didn't pick up, because by then the billboard truck I'd paid cash for was already circling their HQ, looping one line in neon letters: "If you walk out, you'll never work in this town." Underneath, she didn't. She bought it. And that was just Monday. By Tuesday morning, office group chat was leaking like a cracked dam in monsoon season. Jordan's assistant texted me, "Are you okay?" at 6:12 a.m. By 6:14, she followed it with, "Okay, but also, did you really buy the billboard?" "Yes, sweetheart. I really did. And I paid extra to have it parked outside WeWork where Aurelius was pitching to new investors that morning." One founder called it a hostile distraction. Another called it low class. Reporter called it brilliant guerrilla warfare. I called it breakfast. At 9 a.m., the first domino fell. One of our biggest clients, Mira, a biotech startup with too much funding and zero brand strategy, canceled their contract with Aurelius and issued a statement. "We're excited to explore new directions with Maven Strategy Group." That's us. That's me. By 11 a.m., 3 more vendors reached out, not just to congratulate, to defect. Aurelius HQ tried damage control with a lukewarm tweet about wishing Mia the best in her future endeavors. But the internet is petty and keeps receipts. Someone dug up a tweet from Greg 2 years back, "We only hire killers," and paired it with a photo of my press release. The meme caption, "She killed the company." Let's rewind, though, because none of this happened by accident. Months before I walked, I started noticing things. Little things, like how every win I brought in somehow became Jordan's LinkedIn post, or how the intern who flirted with Greg got promoted faster than Aisha, who practically ran our data ops. There was an ecosystem of rot under that glass office gloss, one I knew better than anyone, and I started documenting everything. Invoices misfiled under fake vendors, check. NDAs forged without counsel review, check. VC fund reallocation, oh baby, triple check. But my real weapon wasn't dirt, it was loyalty. While the founders were busy vaping CBD and brainstorming blockchain buzzwords, I was buying lunches, pulling late nights, whispering "you deserve more" to every undervalued genius on payroll. I didn't build a company. I built a quiet rebellion, and now it was erupting. At 2 p.m., I got a message from Connor, senior dev, weirdly quiet, brilliant. Never liked me, at least I thought. All it said was, "I'm in. Tell me where to send the code." I hadn't even asked. By 4 p.m., Aurelius pulled their website offline due to scheduled maintenance. What actually happened? Their backend collapsed under the weight of a rogue plugin Connor wrote back in January, just in case. Meanwhile, we went live with our MVP. Just a landing page. Crisp, white, gold accents, my face dead center with the words, "You've heard the boys. Now meet the builder." That night, I went to an investor mixer at the Roosevelt. Wore the same red dress I'd been fired in. Ran into Greg near the bar. He looked like a man who'd aged 6 years in 24 hours. "You think this'll last?" he sneered, swirling his whiskey. I leaned in, close enough to watch the panic twitch in his jaw. "I'm not thinking," I whispered. "I'm scaling." Then I walked away and left him staring at a woman who didn't just burn the bridge, she sold the ashes. Thursday morning, woke to an email from our lead investor. Subject: "You've officially pissed off half of Sand Hill Road. I'm proud of you." Attached was a photo. Jordan, puffy-eyed, suit wrinkled, standing alone outside Aurelius HQ, staring up at my billboard as someone graffitied a heart around my name. I laughed so hard I knocked over my green juice. But here's where things got really interesting. At 10:03 a.m., I got a calendar invite titled, "Settlement Chat Urgent." No sender name, just a burner email. The note, "Come alone." The location, room 212, Lafayette Hotel. Classic. Rich boys always think the same 3 things will save them: lawyers, money, and closed doors. I showed up in stilettos and leather gloves. The kind of outfit that says, "I dare you to underestimate me." Room 212 was dim, smelled like cheap cologne and desperation. Inside, Jordan, Greg, and Mitchell, their new crisis PR hire who looked like he cried after every TED talk. Jordan didn't waste time. "We can make this all go away," he said, gesturing like a mobster who'd never skipped leg day. "Buy you out, fold your firm into ours, give you a partner title." I blinked. "So you're offering me the same cage, just with fluffier pillows?" Greg shifted in his chair. "You could keep your staff. Think of it as reuniting the band." "The band?" I leaned forward. "Mean the team you underpaid, ignored, and replaced with Red Bull addicts named Tanner?" Then Mitchell, sweet, soggy Mitchell, cleared his throat and said, "We think it's a win-win." So I handed them my counteroffer. A printed term sheet, not digital. I wanted to watch them flip pages. 100% buyout of Mavin Strategy Group, $20 million. Wired within 72 hours, public apology from Jordan. Published in Fast Company, full ownership transfer of their pending AI patent to me. Jordan choked on his complimentary hotel water. "You're insane." "No," I said. "I'm expensive." I stood to leave. Greg muttered something about lawsuits. I turned back at the door. "You fired me with a drink in my hand. You leaked stories to the press saying I was difficult to manage. You replaced my assistant with a man who once tried to pitch a dating app for people who share Uber rides. Now you want mercy?" I stepped into the hallway, looked back once. "Here's your win-win. I win, you whine." As I walked out, I passed room 214, door open. Inside was Clara, Aurelius's former legal counsel. She winked. Apparently she'd forwarded me the burner invite. The rebellion had deep roots, and Aurelius, they hadn't seen the worst yet. Friday morning, I woke up to silence, no pings, no buzzes, just the kind of eerie calm that lets you know the wolves are regrouping. I made coffee, opened my laptop, and waited. At 8:12 a.m., it began. One by one, emails started flooding in. Anonymous tip lines, whistleblower accounts, internal screenshots. Someone, multiple someones, from inside Aurelius had started sending me things they didn't even send the SEC. Expense reports with blacked-out vendors that didn't exist. Payroll discrepancies, ghost employees paid through Cayman accounts. A Google Drive link labeled simply, "Jordan, private." I clicked it. Inside, a folder of selfies, mirror shots from the Aurelius penthouse. Jordan shirtless, posing next to the startup's own mission statement, flipping off the camera. One file was titled CEO or God, and had him photoshopped onto Michelangelo's The Creation of Adam. Another 10-minute video call recording where he accidentally screen-shared his Coinbase wallet mid-pitch. $3.4 million moved out the week before my exit. Suddenly, it wasn't just revenge. It was blood sport. I sent a single message to my legal team, Unleash. By noon, Bloomberg had picked up the story. The headline, "Inside the Startup Civil War, How a Fired Exec Took Down a Unicorn." They didn't name me directly. Not yet. Just referred to me as the architect. I liked it. Had a villainous ring to it. By 3 p.m., Aurelius issued a trembling PR statement about internal restructuring and mismanagement concerns. Jordan went dark on Twitter. Greg locked his Instagram. Mitchell. He apparently quit via Slack and left the office with a plant and 3 boxes labeled legally safe ideas. But the best part, the Maven inbox got a very curious email from Linda at Vanguard Venture subject. Lunch? Now, you don't understand what that means unless you've spent time in the shadows of Silicon Valley's queenmakers. Linda doesn't ask for lunch. She commands meetings like Zeus throws lightning. If she wants to talk, it means one thing: she smells money or blood. Hopefully both. We met at a Thai place in Soho. No press, no fanfare. She was already eating when I arrived. She didn't look up. You've got 2 things going for you, said between bites. You know how to weaponize failure, and you made a man cry on CNBC. I sat down. Which one got me the invite? Both, plus she dabbed her lips. You built a following without even trying. The interns call you corporate Katniss. I almost choked on my water. Then she dropped the bomb. We'll offer you series under one condition. Go bigger. Take Aurelius's clients, not just the little fish. Go after Cypher Tech, Novo, AI. Whales, I paused. That was war. I thought VCs hated drama, I said. She smiled. We hate losing more. That night I couldn't sleep, not because of nerves, because my phone wouldn't stop vibrating. A Reddit thread had gone viral, r/startup drama. CEO meltdown at Aurelius, someone send popcorn. Inside were leaks, DMs, audio clips, including a recording of Greg calling me a walking HR liability in heels. He shouldn't have said that, because now I was going to make it true. The day I poached Aurelius's crown jewel account, I wore the same lipstick Jordan once called too aggressive for investors. Aggressive worked just fine. The client was Cypher Tech, an AI defense contractor so paranoid they held strategy meetings in Faraday-caged rooms. I'd pitched them once while at Aurelius. Jordan blew it by showing up late and calling their CTO the human embodiment of a spreadsheet. She never forgot it. Her name was Dr. Quinn, PhD in machine learning, black nails, deadpan as hell. She messaged me directly at 6:44 a.m. Are you free for coffee, preferably somewhere with cameras? We met in a dingy bodega cafe in the East Village. She ordered espresso. I ordered silence. She slid me a folder. Inside, a full-year contract, 6 figures a month, NDA stapled to the front. You're more dangerous on your own, she said flatly. Aurelius reeks of amateur hour. I didn't smile, just said, we accept. 10 minutes after I signed, Jordan's assistant emailed me again. This time, the subject line read, seriously, what do you want? I replied with a photo of the Cypher Tech folder and one word, everything. That same afternoon, a private Slack channel inside Aurelius was leaked, codename #disaster response. Screenshots hit Twitter. In one, Greg asked if they could pay me to go away. Another had Mitchell brainstorming ways to discredit me. Maybe she cheated on an SAT once. Can we fake an HR complaint? What's the female version of unhinged that still sounds woke? Reddit tore them apart. Meanwhile, Maven's team was doubling daily. I hired Aisha back as chief operations. Clara came in to handle compliance. Connor rebuilt our dev pipeline in a weekend and installed a kill switch we named Greg's Tears. If Aurelius tried to poach any code, the entire repo would lock and display a single GIF. Jordan crying behind a frosted glass wall. But I wanted more. I wanted the root. So I met with a reporter from Wired off the record. Told her I wouldn't leak what I had unless they tried to smear me. But if they did, oh honey. The folder I labeled Final Boss would be public by sunrise. She asked what was in it. I just smiled. Know if you see Jordan selling crypto seminars on TikTok. That night, someone keyed the word traitor into my car door. I didn't even own a car. It was Maven's shared Tesla. I sent a photo of it to our group chat. Aisha replied, we should print this on mugs. Greg tried to get ahead of the implosion by going on a podcast. Said the startup space was a hard place for female leaders, that he wished me well, and that we all make mistakes. Was sweating through his Patagonia. Comments flooded in. You mean like firing the woman who built your entire valuation? Greg looks like he eats plain Cheerios and cries when people clap on planes. The tide had turned, but I knew better than to gloat, because Saturday morning an envelope arrived at my apartment. No return address, hand-delivered. Inside, a printed screenshot. One of my old emails, marked confidential, a post-it note on top. Thought you might want to know what we found in your trash. The war wasn't over, they were digging. I stared at that envelope like it might hiss. The email they'd printed wasn't damning on its own. A 2-year-old thread where I vented to Aisha about Aurelius's leadership, calling Jordan a goldfish in Gucci, and suggesting we burn it down from the inside. Colorful? Yes. Illegal? No. But weaponizable? Absolutely. The fact that they'd found it in my trash? That meant someone got past Mavin's security. Someone inside. That night, I called an emergency all hands. No slides, no agenda, just war footing. We met in a co-working space that smelled like kombucha and tech debt. I locked the doors. Someone's leaking, I said, pacing slow. We're not panicking, but we're tightening the net. Connor spun his laptop toward me. I built a breadcrumb trap in our repo last week. Every clone gets a unique tracer. If they lifted anything, we'll know from the commit signature. Clara raised her hand. Also, I checked our trash. Literally, nothing's been thrown out from the office in 2 weeks, which means they got that email from your home. Cue the pin drop silence. You think someone broke in? Aisha asked. I think someone never left. I didn't go home that night. I crashed in the Mavin war room, slept 2 hours on a conference couch with a whiteboard over my head that read, "Trust no one, not even Greg." By morning, Connor had results. One clone traced back to an IP assigned to a VPN-owned workspace. And when he cross-referenced login timestamps, we saw something sickening. There was only one employee who'd been online every single time we had a breach. Her name was Mallory, junior strategist, quiet, smart, almost invisible. He had access to comms but never spoke in meetings. When we hired her, her resume had references from 2 Aurelius alumni. We thought it was a flex. It was a plant. She wasn't just feeding Aurelius. She was sending them our pitches, our financial projections, even screenshots of internal group chats, and she'd been doing it for weeks. I pulled her into a side office with Clara. No lawyers, no HR nonsense, just 3 chairs and a single question. Why? Mallory didn't blink. They told me you were dangerous, that you'd destroy everything eventually. They said you were building a cult. I leaned back. Then why didn't you leave? She hesitated, just for a beat, because I started to believe you. She looked at Clara, then back to me. I think you actually can win. That's when she slid a thumb drive across the table. They offered me 20 grand for this. I didn't take it. Clara picked it up, turned it over, eyes narrowing. What's on here? Everything, Mallory said. Greg's plan to get you investigated for fraud. Jordan's burner accounts, and something else, something I don't think they meant for anyone to see. Later that night, we decrypted the files. One folder was labeled Emergency Exit Aurelius. Inside were spreadsheets, routing numbers, names, a shadow fund, $6.7 million, stashed under a defunct nonprofit registered to Jordan's mother. Greg was listed as the authorized signer. I didn't need revenge anymore. I had evidence, and the game had just changed. I stared at the spreadsheet like it was an obituary, $6.7 million buried beneath a fake nonprofit called Children for Digital Literacy. Cute, almost poetic in a sociopathic sort of way. Every wire transfer, every Shell LLC, every offshore bounce was time-stamped, labeled, and thanks to Mallory, digitally notarized by Greg himself. And the best part, the dates lined up perfectly with the VC funding rounds I helped Aurelius win. They hadn't just stolen my career. They'd laundered my work into hush money. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just opened a new Google Doc titled Their Funeral My Way. At 2:43 a.m., I called Linda from Vanguard. She picked up on the second ring, voice steady as static. I'm sending you something encrypted. You're going to want to see it before it hits the wires. There was a pause. Do you want to kill them? She asked. No, I replied. I want to sell tickets to the autopsy. By noon, the strategy was set. First, leak the fund data anonymously to 3 reporters. One from Bloomberg, one from TechCrunch, one from a little-known startup gossip Substack with a cult following and zero chill. Second, file a whistleblower report through Clara's legal back channel. Safe, sealed, undeniable. Third, weaponize Mallory. I gave her a choice, stay and rebuild her name with us or walk and watch the chaos from a distance. To her credit, she didn't flinch. I want in, she said, eyes steelier than I'd seen before. I owe you that. That afternoon, I hosted a Mavin press event. Just a live stream, nothing flashy. But behind me was a single slide, bold serif font on black. If you walk out, you'll never work in this town. Jordan Wells. 5 months ago, I stepped to the mic, took a breath, and smiled. Turns out he was half right. Then I detailed every ounce of fraud, misconduct, exploitation, and rot I had endured. Not a hit piece, not a tantrum, a surgical report, receipts, timelines, emails. And then I ended with this. To every woman who's been told she's too much, every brown girl passed over for a white boy with a tech hoodie, every assistant with a boss who says you should smile more. I didn't just leave, I replaced them. It went viral before I even stepped off stage. And Aurelius, they imploded like a Jenga tower made of Red Bull cans and hubris. Greg's arrest was confirmed 2 days later. The photo made the rounds, him in a crumpled blazer, mouth open mid-sob, escorted by federal agents from his penthouse. Jordan, he fled to Chalum and tried to rebrand as a crypto-futurist on Instagram. His first reel got 41 views and a single comment. Didn't you used to have a company? The best part? The VC community, ever hungry for narrative, started whispering my name with a mix of fear and awe. Some called me reckless. Some called me a visionary. Linda called me with 2 words, it's done. But it wasn't, because the final move wasn't legal. It wasn't even professional. It was personal. And it was coming next. Final move came wrapped in velvet and vengeance. It was a gala, one of those grotesque tech fundraisers where egos float in champagne and millionaires pretend they invented kindness. Black tie, flashbulbs, a silent auction where someone paid $42,000 for dinner with Alon's second cousin. I didn't go as a guest. I went as the sponsor. When guests entered, there was a massive projection on the wall, white serif font, slow fade in, 10 feet tall. If you walk out, never work in this town, people murmured, looked around. Then the second line appeared beneath it. She walked, then bought half the town. A stunned silence fell across the ballroom, and that's when I stepped out. Red silk dress, hair like a threat. I didn't need to say my name, they all knew. My table was dead center. Name card engraved in gold. Mia James, chairwoman, Maven Strategy Group. On either side, Quinn from Cypher Tech and Linda from Vanguard, both sipping from flutes like queens at a coronation. The press hounded me. Investors circled like bees. I answered 2 questions, then smiled and turned them away with a single line. I came to enjoy the fall, and fall it did. Halfway through the night, a waiter handed me a letter. No envelope, just creased paper, scrawled handwriting. Jordan's, you win. I've lost everything. I still don't understand how you did it. I folded it neatly, used it as a coaster for my whiskey, and handed the glass to a passing donor. Then I made my real move. During the final speech of the evening, a boring speech about innovation and grit, I slipped backstage and took the mic the moment the applause started. No warning, no permission, just power. Before we close, I said, I want to thank the men who tried to bury me, because in trying to end me, they handed me a blueprint. I nodded to the AV crew. Screen behind me lit up. One by one, the names appeared. Greg, Jordan, Mitchell, their faces, their charges, the companies they defrauded, the staff they exploited, the startups they killed, and then their resumes, with one red stamp diagonally across each, permanently unemployable, gasps, a few claps. Someone dropped a glass. And me? I turned to leave, heels clicking like gunshots across marble. At the door, I paused, looked back once. The room had gone still, as it should, because I didn't just leave. I rewrote the rules. I became the warning, the blueprint, the lesson they'll whisper in boardrooms for years. And when people ask me what it cost, I say this, just one sentence, and the spine to walk through it.